The giant TV studio buzzed with energy. Bright lights shone down on a stage built for giants. World leaders, politicians, and millions of viewers glued to their screens. This wasn't just any broadcast. It was a historic moment that the world would remember for years. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a strong and calm leader from Burkina Faso, sat quietly among other guests. His eyes were steady, his posture confident. The stakes were high. Tensions between powerful nations hung thick in the air like an invisible storm. Suddenly, Donald Trump, the U.S. president known for his sharp tongue, leaned forward with a smirk. His voice cut through the studio like a knife. "Where did you learn English?" he sneered, directing the insult at Traoré. Gasps rippled through the audience. The world froze for a heartbeat, shocked by the coldness of the question. But something inside the studio shifted. The air grew heavier. Everyone waited, breath held, for what would come next. Ibrahim Traoré's face didn't change. He didn't flinch, didn't answer immediately. Instead, he breathed slowly, steady as a rock in a stormy sea. The insult could have broken many people, but not him. The studio cameras zoomed in on his calm eyes that had seen struggle, had fought for peace and hope in a land scarred by conflict. This insult wasn't just about language. It was about disrespect. But Traoré had a bigger battle to win, not just for himself, but for his country, his people, and the idea of dignity. Meanwhile, the audience was still holding its breath. Trump prepared to strike again. His face was flushed with confidence. Sure, he had already won the moment. But the studio felt the tension mounting like a volcano ready to erupt. Then, from across the table, a quiet voice began to rise. A voice that would change everything. Barack Obama, former President of the United States, watched silently. His expression was calm, but serious. He knew the power of words, how they could heal or hurt, build bridges or burn them down. Slowly, he stood. The studio lights seemed to focus on him like a spotlight on a hero. He spoke clearly, with strength and grace that filled the room instantly. "Respect," Obama said simply, "is not a matter of where someone learned a language. It is about understanding, about listening, and about the courage to stand for what is right." Trump's smug smile faltered. The studio, once filled with gasps and whispers, grew silent. The moment felt electric. Obama's words cut through the tension like a sharp blade, but also like a warm hand reaching out. Everyone watching knew this was more than politics. It was a moment of truth. The studio was silent, almost frozen in time. Every eye was locked on Ibrahim Traoré. His calmness was not weakness. It was strength forged in the fires of hardship and responsibility. Behind his steady gaze was a story few knew, a story of a young man from a small village who grew up amidst struggle, learning more than just words. He learned respect, resilience, and the courage to lead. The insult Trump had thrown was meant to cut deep, to belittle. But Traoré's silence spoke louder than any angry reply ever could. Across the room, whispers floated, questions about who this man really was. What battles had he fought? What dreams did he carry for his country? And as the cameras rolled, millions of viewers felt something shifting inside them. A sense of admiration, a quiet hope. The tension was thick, yet beautiful in its complexity. This was no longer just a TV debate. It was a moment where dignity and honor stood tall. Ibrahim Traoré finally spoke, his voice steady and clear, carrying the weight of a lifetime of struggle. "English is a tool," he said softly. "But true leadership is spoken in the language of action, respect, and compassion." The studio fell into an even deeper silence. His words were simple, but they hit hard. He wasn't just defending himself. He was defending every person who had ever been underestimated, every voice ignored. The camera zoomed in on his face, young, determined, yet humble. He wasn't the man Trump had tried to make him out to be. He was a symbol of hope for millions back home, a beacon of courage in a world too often shadowed by prejudice. And while the insult hung heavy in the air, it only made Traoré's quiet power shine brighter. Barack Obama watched with steady eyes. He understood what this moment meant, not just for Traoré, but for the millions watching around the world. Slowly, deliberately, Obama stood. His voice was calm, but every word carried the force of truth. Leadership is about lifting others up, not tearing them down, he said. It's about respect. Respect for history, for struggle, and for the courage to keep moving forward. Trump's confident posture wavered, his mouth opening slightly in surprise. The studio lights caught the change, the shift from arrogance to silence. Obama wasn't just defending Traoré. He was reminding everyone of a simple truth, that real power comes from respect and humility. And the world watched, breathless, as the balance of this moment began to tip. The studio was electric, buzzing with anticipation and silent tension all at once. Obama's words had landed like thunder in a quiet sky, shaking the very foundation of the broadcast. Donald Trump, once so confident, sat frozen. His usual sharp comebacks were nowhere to be found. The room was thick with disbelief. Millions of viewers could almost hear the collective intake of breath. But in the stillness, Ibrahim Traoré's eyes held a quiet fire. He was no longer just a man on a stage. He was a symbol of strength, resilience, and unyielding dignity. Behind the scenes, many whispered of the long road Traoré had traveled. Years of fighting for his country's future against corruption and violence. The endless nights spent planning for peace. This moment wasn't just about politics. It was about respect earned through sacrifice and courage. The studio lights reflected in Traoré's steady gaze, shining brighter than ever before. Barack Obama's voice softened, yet carried the weight of history. "This is about more than just words," he said. "It's about the future we want to build, where every leader, every person, is treated with dignity, no matter where they come from." The cameras captured every expression, every heartbeat of the moment. For those watching at home, the broadcast was a mirror of a world grappling with change and hope. Traoré nodded quietly, knowing the fight for respect was far from over. His people watched, hearts full of pride and hope, believing their captain could lead them to brighter days. Trump's eyes flickered, his mask of arrogance slipping as he realized the power he had underestimated. The studio held a collective breath, ready for what would come next. Suddenly, Traoré spoke again, voice calm but full of resolve. "Language is not just about words. It is about understanding, empathy, and the courage to act when others stay silent." His words echoed through the studio, a profound reminder of what true leadership meant. The room felt charged with emotion, tears threatening to spill from those who saw in Traoré a reflection of their own struggles and hopes. Obama gave a slight nod, a silent show of support for the man who had risen above insult with grace. The cameras caught the subtle shift in the room, the moment when respect replaced ridicule. For millions watching around the world, this was no longer just a political broadcast. It was a story of honor, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of a leader who refused to be defined by others' words. The broadcast was no longer just a show. It was a global moment. From small villages in Burkina Faso to bustling cities across continents, millions watched the studio drama unfold live. Families huddled around screens. Students paused their lessons, and office workers stopped typing. Everyone was caught in the grip of a story bigger than politics. It was about respect, identity, and the power of dignity. Traoré's calm composure inspired many who had faced prejudice or dismissal. His words reminded viewers that true strength is quiet but firm. It does not need to shout to be heard. Obama's poised intervention had shifted the narrative, but the tension lingered. Trump's confidence had cracked, yet he still searched for a way to regain control. The world sensed something monumental was happening. In that moment, it wasn't just about a language insult or a TV argument. It was about the courage to stand tall in the face of disrespect, about a new chapter in how leaders could rise. Traoré's voice carried across the studio once more, calm and unwavering. Leadership is not about loud words or insults. It is about listening to your people and acting for their future. His message resonated deeply. Millions nodded in agreement, moved by the simplicity and truth behind his statement. Behind the scenes, many remembered Traoré's journey, from soldier to captain, then leader, fighting for peace and justice in his country's darkest hours. He carried the weight of hope on his shoulders, yet never lost his humility. Obama's eyes showed respect and understanding. He knew this was a moment that transcended politics. It was about humanity, about treating others with kindness, no matter how powerful you might be. And as Traoré spoke, viewers felt their hearts swell with pride for the man who stood firm, unshaken by insult, leading with grace and courage. The studio lights seemed to grow brighter, illuminating a silence heavier than words. Trump's eyes darted, searching for an answer, a comeback, but none came. Obama's calm gaze met Trump's, and in that quiet exchange, the entire world could see who truly held the moral ground. The cameras captured every flicker of emotion, shock, frustration, humility, and strength, painting a vivid picture for the millions watching. Traoré remained composed, embodying the dignity of a leader who had faced countless storms, but never bowed. For viewers, this was more than a broadcast. It was a lesson in courage, respect, and the power of standing tall. The world was witnessing history, a moment where true leadership won over mockery and hope over hate. The studio's heavy silence carried the weight of what had been said and what had been left unsaid. Millions of eyes were fixed on the screen, feeling the intensity of a moment that transcended politics. Donald Trump sat stunned, struggling to regain his usual bravado. But the room had already shifted. The tide was turning. Ibrahim Traoré's journey had been anything but easy. From a young boy growing up in a modest village to leading a nation through turbulent times, his life was a testament to perseverance and dignity. He wasn't just a man with a command of English. He was a man who spoke the language of his people's hopes and dreams. Millions felt a stirring in their hearts, moved by his courage to stand tall without bitterness or anger. The insult was meant to wound, but it only revealed the strength of a leader who refused to be broken. Barack Obama's voice softened, yet each word rang clear and true. Real leadership, he said, is built on respect. Respect for those who came before us, for the struggles they endured, and for the future we all share. His gaze locked with Traoré's, a silent salute between two men who understood what it meant to lead with heart. The studio lights flickered, capturing the raw emotion, a blend of pride, hope, and the deep ache of battles fought far from the cameras. Obama's words weren't just a defense. They were a call to the world to see beyond the insults, to honor the resilience that true leadership demands. Viewers around the globe wiped tears as they witnessed a powerful truth unfold live, that respect and humility can silence even the loudest voices of division. Back in Burkina Faso, families gathered around radios and phones, listening to every word. Children stared wide-eyed, inspired by a leader who spoke with strength and kindness. Traoré was no longer just a captain or a politician. He was a symbol, a beacon of hope for a country hungry for peace and dignity. His calm courage was a balm to many who had felt unseen or unheard for too long. The insult from Trump, meant to demean, had only elevated Traoré in the eyes of millions. And as the broadcast continued, The world saw what Burkina Faso had known all along, that true leadership shines brightest when faced with darkness. The studio lights flickered as the broadcast entered its final moments. Donald Trump's face, once so full of confidence, now showed cracks of doubt and frustration. The room held its breath, sensing that the moment had shifted forever. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, calm and composed, looked out across the studio, his eyes reflecting the weight of responsibility, but also a fierce hope. He was not just a man defending his honor. He was carrying the dreams of millions. For years, he had fought battles few understood, both on the ground and in the hearts of his people. Now, on this global stage, he showed the world what real strength looked like: humility, courage, and unwavering dignity. Millions watching felt a surge of emotion, many wiping tears away as they saw a leader who stood unbroken in the face of insult and arrogance. This was no longer a debate. It was a lesson in humanity. Barack Obama rose again, his voice steady and clear, as if speaking not just to those in the studio, but to everyone watching at home. Leadership, he said, is not measured by the loudness of your voice, but by the courage to listen, the wisdom to understand, and the humility to respect. His words rippled through the room, leaving no space for doubt. Donald Trump sat silent, visibly shaken, his usual bravado stripped away. Traoré's eyes glistened, a tear escaping as the weight of the moment settled upon him. This was more than victory. It was a turning point for how leaders everywhere could aspire to act. The broadcast ended, but the impact was just beginning. As the cameras faded and the studio lights dimmed, the world outside was changed. Back in Burkina Faso, families celebrated their captain, not for his words, but for his heart. Children dreamed bigger, and a nation felt a new hope rising. Ibrahim Traoré had shown that true power lies not in insults, but in respect and resilience. And for millions worldwide, this moment became a beacon of what leadership could and should be. If this story moved you, if it touched your heart and gave you hope, please hit like and subscribe to join this journey with us. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What does true leadership mean to you? Your voice matters, and together we can spread stories that inspire and uplift. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a moment of real courage and truth. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for being here.